Hey guys, so it's Cassie. Sorry it's taking me so long to come up with another podcast. COVID has been a trip, to say the least, especially mentally for me. And it's just been really crazy because I know that there's so many people that are grieving right now, and we're all grieving something, either the loss of a job, a loss of a family member, a loved one, a friend, or someone that has lost someone. During this time. So I think that it's so crucial that we talk about grieving, because I don't know one person that's lived forever, but also that put a lot more pressure on me that I had to execute. And I'll just start off by saying, I started this because when I lost my dad, I didn't have any resources, and the resources that were available didn't really resonate with me as anything that was really that helpful. Other than just what I went through with just my spirituality and my mental health and my physical health, and just becoming really resilient and strong within myself. And I really utilized just coming from a place of having gratitude, even though it is the most gut-wrenching thing to lose someone, and it's the most frustrating and overwhelming thing to also go through. And I feel you on it. If you are frustrated and you are overwhelmed and you don't know what to do, I feel you, because I've been there. That has been me. And the only way that I've been able to get through it and still get through it is by continuing to come back to the things that I talk about on this podcast, because they're the only things I have to hold on to, and they have been proven to work. So even during the course of me not coming out with as many podcasts, that was something I had to actually work on, was go back to, okay, what am I grateful for in this moment, and just get my feet back under me and get back into that habit. And so as I was going through that, if you don't believe in God, I don't know how to talk about grieving without it, because that's the only thing that's gotten me through it. I guess you can take God out of everything I say, and it's still, there's a lot of useful things. But I wake up every day and I would go for walks every day. After my dad died, we had gone on walks every morning anyways. And so during COVID, I got out of the routine. I think we've all gotten out of our routines, right? And so it was just getting back the routine of, these are the things I do to be resilient. And so I would always get up in the morning and go for a walk, and then I would work out in the morning, and I would set aside time to meditate, and then I would gratitude journal. And that was also like a manifestation journal as well. So I would say things I was grateful for that was in the future tense. So what's really been interesting is that I always put in my gratitude journal, thank you for topics and things to talk about coming to me easily. And so I kept having this very weird thing. It was like a phrase, I would hear it, and we've all heard it. So the phrase is borrowed time. And so I just kept really hearing that over and over again, played out in my head and in music and stuff. And I'm like, okay, so what am I supposed to do with borrowed time? What does that mean? Because I've always been, since my dad passing away, that I wasn't going to waste any more time on the things that weren't serving me. So I was a huge partier. I would drink a ton. I would do drugs. I would go out, spend all my money. I really didn't have a lot to show for. I was successful, but I didn't really have anything to show for it. And so I made an active decision when my dad passed away that I wasn't going to do that anymore, because I knew that my time was really limited. Because when someone dies, you definitely feel the entire weight of that this time is very limited. And the more I got into my spiritual practices, you definitely learn that time is very, very limited, and it is very precious, and you can't get a second of it back. And so I was hearing borrowed time, what does that mean? And so I started asking people hey, what does borrowed time mean to you? And so I think the most common version of borrowed time is that we have something terrible happen to us, right? So when my dad passed away, obviously it was awful. And I remember sitting there in that hospital. And I started just negotiating. Like I was negotiating with God. Like, God, if you bring him back, I will do X, Y, and Z. I promise. And I think we all do that in really traumatic, overwhelming times that are painful and they're uncomfortable. And we go, okay, God, I want you to take this away. And we start negotiating. Like, I will live my life differently if you do this. And I did that in that moment. And I also was like, God, you told me that if my faith is as big as a mustard seed, I can move a mountain. And we also, if you've read the New Testament, Jesus went out and he healed people and brought them back from the dead. So I was like, bring him back. And so I started negotiating, right? And I think that's really the most common way a lot of people see God, is in a way of, I'm going to negotiate. And so that's kind of the concept of borrowed time, that I'm going to negotiate, and then when this gets resolved, I'm going to live my life this way, right? But we're humans, and normally it doesn't turn out that way, and God isn't a genie. So, but that's the common idea of borrowed time. And so I was looking at it from, okay, well, what's my perspective of borrowed time? So I actually journaled it, so I'll read it to you. So I just kept hearing like borrowed time. And I know that our time here is physically very short. And time from a scientific standpoint is infinite. And I know that time in our bodies and in this skin and in this body is very short. At the most, I think the person that's lived like probably the longest, and I haven't Googled this, so you can Google it, but they probably lived 100 years. But think about it. The world's been around for a really long time. So 100 years out of how long the world's been in existence. And that doesn't even put into like aspect that the entire universe has been in existence. And that there's like light years. Like light is time. So when you start looking at it that way, you're like, this is very small. Like the time we have here is super small. And on top of it, our time here is so small. And if you've had a sudden death like I have, you definitely realize like, oh shit, my time here is already small if I live to be 110. Now, God forbid something else happened, my time here is even fucking shorter. So it definitely puts into the aspect of like, okay, my time here is even shorter. And in my head, I automatically go to like, oh my God, I have so many things I have to do before that. And they're not even like things like, oh, I gotta go travel here. They're like, I gotta go return those clothes. Like stuff that's like so not important and like no one cares about. So I'm probably not the only one that thinks like that either. But then it kind of gives you anxiety. You're like, oh, I have so much stuff to do. But if this is borrowed, then it was never ours, right? Because when you borrow a dress from a girlfriend, it was never yours, right? Or just you borrow anything from someone, a jacket, a boat, a car. But like when you borrow a car, when you're moving, or a truck, you use it to the best of your ability, to the maximum amount that you can for the allotted amount of time that you have it, and then you have to return it. But you want to return it in good condition, right? So it's stewarding it as well. So it's a limited amount of time, and now we're trying to take care of it as best to our ability, but we're trying to maximize on the amount of time we have. So then when I thought about borrowed time in that perspective, it's like, okay, then I have this limited amount of time, and I'm going to utilize it to the fullest of my advantage and steward this time as well as I can and do everything I can with it to be the best human being I can be, to show up the best I can, to not have any regrets, to do all the things that I've always wanted to do. Then there's a perspective on borrowed time. But then the anxiety gets taken away out of it because now I put that pressure on myself. I have to do all these things, right? I don't, because it's not mine. It's God's time, ultimately. He's given it to me. He's given me this life. He's allowed me to be here. He's allowed each and every one of us to be present during this time, during COVID. Like, we were all uniquely, divinely planted here to experience this time that we are living in right now. Like, how special is that? Also, you can have it on the flip side, being like, oh, really? Why? But we are in such a pivotal time in that people really haven't really seen in a very long time, other than like the Black Plague. But, you know, this is like a crucial time in history, and we're all uniquely and divinely planted here for this time. So what does it mean to live during this time? And how do we show up, right? So that was the part that, like, we all have these, like, this list of stuff we want to do, right? And then COVID happened and it like stopped us. So we can't travel, we can't do all the things that we had planned. We can't see the people we wanted to see. Some of the people that we wanted to spend more time with may have passed, and we don't get that time back. And that's where we get to make the shift for what we're going to do in our next step, right? Because I can't get that time back. I can't get the time back with my dad. I can't get to say the things that I wanted to say. But I do get to take the time forward in this moment right now to live it how I want to say the things I want to say to people, to become the person I've wanted to become, to be the kind person, to show up, to be that change we wish to see in the world. We get to live that right now, in this moment, right this minute. That's amazing. That's freedom. That's not anxiety. That's everything opposite of it, right? Because it's all a gift and it's all a blessing, and we get to steward this time. So what can we do to show up in this moment right now? Maybe it's just to take a deep breath and really fill our lungs and feel that. So maybe we should just do that together. So deep breath in. Hold it at the top. Let it out. Like, how much different do you feel? Maybe it's just to unlock your jaw right now. Maybe you're listening to this and you're driving. Like, maybe it's just to sit for a second in silence and see what's going on around us and really observe what's happening. Because there's a lot of power in all that. And we are powerful beings in and of ourselves. It's interesting because I was looking up other people's philosophies on it and asking them. And I asked actually one of my pastors what he would say. And then I looked up what a Stoic would say. And so the Stoics believe that time is something you can't get back. And it's true, you can't get it back. And so they would treat the time with reverence and have so much consideration over how they were to spend that time. So time is revered because it's such a precious gift that we are granted. And then they put consideration to where they're going to spend their time. So they're not just sitting on Instagram hoping 2020 is over and we can move on to 2021. Because we're in the month of September 11th right now. And I think that's an also really poignant thing that this is recorded on September 11th, because people are reliving losing someone during September 11th in the US, you know? Like, people are reliving that. Even though it was 19 years ago, people are still commemorating those lives that are lost and probably imagining where they would have been now if that hadn't have happened in their lives. That there had been something that had interceded into that and prevented it. But we get this time right now. So how much more powerful could our time be here if we just took a little pause before we reacted to things We were a little bit more proactive, and we took more consideration of, how do I want to spend this? Do I want to just sit on Facebook all day long? Do I want to sit and complain all day long? Or am I sick of hearing myself complain and I'm going to get up and go do something about it? Maybe you're sick of being fucking sad, dude. At some point, I do believe you need to feel your feelings, but at other points, we've all met those people that have just been defined by sadness. Terrible things happen to all of us, and I don't want to minimize that. But resilience happens when you see it, you feel it, and you go, you know what? This did happen, and it was shitty. But I have this time, and I'm going to utilize it to the best of my abilities. In whatever way that looks. Because that person that we lost, that we loved, doesn't get that time back. We don't get it back. So let's make our futures what we want it to be. So I think that's really where borrowed time came from. This is borrowed. It's not ours. It's technically ours. And time is infinite, right? But it's like such a gift. It's such a gift that the time that we're here. So do the things you want to do. Obviously, like within reason. Don't like go murder someone because that's what you want to do because you're angry. Don't do that. But do the positive things you want to do. If you want to get up and go outside and go have a picnic, go do it. Better time now than ever. So I hope that this helps someone or just makes you feel a little bit like you're not alone. Because I think we all have these thoughts that go through our heads. And this time is so hard. And it's hard because it's isolating and it's lonely. And it feels like you're just going through the motions and every day is the same, right? Because you can't really go anywhere and do anything. But I think it's when we change our perspective as to this is still a gift. And not to want to fast forward through it. Because who says that anything forward is better? Right? Because this is a gift. If you want to fast forward through it means you're throwing away a gift. It's kind of mean, right? And it's mean to do it to ourselves. So I hope that you guys have an amazing day. I hope you take a deep breath. I hope you know that you can breathe, that you are more resilient, you're more powerful than you probably give yourself credit for. And you're way stronger than you ever think you will ever be. I promise. Because in the moments of my weakest, darkest times, when I was like, I can't do this, I was able to do it. I got through it. I promise. You can get through anything. Just take a deep breath. Know that this is a gift. And now what would you do with a gift someone gave it to you that you love so much? Would you throw it away or would you use it and appreciate it and love it? So love every 60 seconds of today, of this 24-hour day. And then you love tomorrow, every 60 seconds of that 24-hour day. And you do it every single day. Sometimes you have to tell yourself over and over again, this is a gift. When we have those trying days, this is a gift. This is a gift. This is a gift. This time I have is a gift. And whatever you're doing and it doesn't feel like a gift anymore, let's look for ways to switch either your opinion of it or maybe your circumstances. So I hope you guys have a great day. Subscribe, DM me if you have any questions or anything. I always reach out. You need encouragement, I will be in your corner when you need someone to encourage you. So I hope you have a great day. Bye, guys.